Yeah,
I
why
mean,
not?
I've been ready for like 15 minutes.
5, 4, 3, 2. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Jupiter's Croc here on the Outpost Unknown YouTube channel. We're running 15 minutes late because some diva has become the new Rachel. So I introduce Ronan as the new Rachel. How are you, Ronan?
Well, that's shit to do. Deal with it.
Okay, well, we do. We do have to deal with it.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, you do.
and of course, our humble, I don't know what I'm going to say. Plodicus. Plodicus is here.
Yes, it's getting harder and harder to keep track of these episodes because I have to watch them in bulk to accommodate someone's fucking schedule.
Yeah, yeah, you do. Think about
Deal with
that.
it. Deal with it. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about episode 6 of season 2, Spartacus Vengeance. This one is titled Chosen Path, and let's just get right into it. Plodicus, take it away.
Oh, god damn it. So this is another episode that's heavily divided between what happens with Spartacus and what happens with Glaber. So I'm gonna talk about these things individually because I'll never be able to keep track of it otherwise. All of the surviving gladiators return from their triumphant destruction of the arena.
All four of them.
Yes, all the masses of gladiators that got back from this arena fight. They survived. They announce the destruction of the arena. Everybody's happy. They bring in Onomaus, who is gravely injured from the arena collapse. Crixus gets reunited with Navia, but they're about to have some relationship issues due to her PTSD. Gannicus is there because he wants to make peace with Onomaus, and the blonde slave girl whose name none of us know, she asks, "Hey, what happened to Raskos?" And she's told, he died in the arena, like a gladiator should. And so let's go ahead and get her story out of the way first. She was sleeping with Raskos because she thought it gave her protection and some sort of higher position within this group. She first approaches Gannicus and tells him, "Hey, I had this deal with Raskos. I would offer you the same deal, me for the position within the group that you give me." Even though Gannicus is like, no, one, I'm not one of these people. 2, I'm not interested.
I'm good.
And so as she's having this conversation, a couple of gladiators walk by, and Donar, who's the guy that had the really good horrors line back in episode 1, he kind of eyes her up. Axbro, Donar. He eyes her up, and you find out later that they fucked because when he's coming back from hunting or something, she goes up to him and is like, "Hey, basically I'm your girlfriend now. Let's go do stuff together." And he's like, "What the fuck? I had my fun with you. I'm not interested anymore."
Shockingly, they didn't show any sex scene between them, right? Because I was a little confused by that. I was like, "Oh, did they actually have sex? Did we ever see that in a previous episode?" Or
yeah, we never see it because
that's weird. Because they show everyone else fucking in this show.
Yeah, maybe they didn't have. Maybe that was another thing that was cut in this condensed season.
Maybe he was like,
this fucking poker hand.
Yeah, maybe he was like, "Oh no, I'm not getting naked."
Yeah.
Maybe.
Anyways.
Oh man, that guy beat us.
Yes.
Fuck.
Yeah, I was like, what am I doing in this poker hand? I don't know, but whatever. I
Fucking
lost all that money.
Gandhi beat us. God damn it.
Well, don't know what you're gonna do with that comment, Matt. Anyways,
he looks exactly like Gandhi.
That's great. Donar had sex with blonde slave girl once. It was like, I had my fun. I'm not interested. Like, I'm not committed to you after fucking you once. And she's very upset. And she talks to Mira. And Mira is like, maybe you should figure out your own path in life rather than fucking gladiators because you think it gives you some sort of position. So we're gonna see how that bites everyone in the ass later on in this episode.
Epic
Crixus
foreshadowing.
Yes. Crixus is reunited with Navia, but they go to have sex, and Navia can't handle it because she is very highly traumatized from what happened to her leading up to her getting thrown in the mines. She becomes suicidal at one point, and Crixus is very concerned about her. But there's nothing that Crixus can do, and Crixus, there's a couple of scenes with the two of them. But Crixus, she's suicidal, or that's what Crixus thinks. And at one point, Crixus is like offering any solution he can. You know, we'll go away from here. I'll protect you. Whatever you want to do. And she's like, no, I don't want any of that. And Crixus is like, what the fuck? Like,
she's like, I'm a different person. That person
Yes.
you knew is dead and gone.
Yes,
She's
she's
gone
she's
full
gone.
Darth Vader.
Well, Darth Navia tells Crixus, or Nixus. that's their couple's name, like Benifer.
Nixus.
Navia is just like not responding to anything that Crixus offers her, and Crixus is finally like, "What do you want me to do? Do you want me to just sit here and watch you fade away? Do you want me to just like stand by while you kill yourself?" And Navia tells him, "No, I want you to train me to fight, and so that no one can ever harm me the way I was previously harmed." And Crixus is like, "Fuck yeah, we're gonna do this."
Yeah.
And so Crixus,
He is so excited about this.
Yes,
Fight,
he begins.
you say. It's the only thing he loves more than sex is fighting.
I feel like he loves fighting more than sex, but if he can get the two together, he's going to be all about that. But so that's where Navia and Crixus are now. Crixus is going to begin training her throughout the rest of the season. Spartacus really, really wants Gannicus to join their cause, and Gannicus is not interested. He makes it very clear that I am just here to try to make peace with Oenomaus, and then I am leaving.
Gannicus is awesome in both of these episodes we're going to talk about tonight. I love that Gannicus, he's just looking, he's like, you guys are all going to die. Like every last one. You're all going to die.
Gannicus does not believe in this at all, but to try to get Gannicus, bring him into the fold, Spartacus invites him out hunting. And so Spartacus basically like spills his life story to Gannicus, like, hey, Glaber killed my wife, and now I'm very anti-slavery, and, you know, we could use your help. And Gannicus is like, you're scaring away the fucking deer. And just shuts him down. Gannicus is not interested at all.
I love when first he's like, wait a minute, you're doing this for a woman? You're letting all these people die for a woman?
Well, I don't know if Steve, you were going to bring this up later on, but so Spartacus, like, because this happens before they go hunting. Spartacus is he's talking with Crixus about how it's like, yeah, you knew Gannicus beforehand. What's he like? Oh yeah, he was one of the best, just like us, and tries to, because Spartacus wants intel on him, and Crixus is like, oh well, you convinced me, surely you'll be able to convince him. And Spartacus's grand idea for this is to stand up and give a hero speech, and he's given the epic hero speech, and then fucking Crixus and Agron get into it in the middle of his hero speech and completely kill it, and Gannicus is just kind of sitting on high, like on the wall, like Snoopy, just kind of sitting there chilling, and then he starts laughing at them. It's like, you aim to take down Rome, but you're all trying to kill each other.
I have a question for you guys. Do you feel like they really established a real solid, like, why is Spartacus so kind of like hell-bent on getting Gannicus on board? Because it's just one dude, right? It's not like he's, Spartacus didn't really know who he was before he basically, like, met him the last episode briefly in the arena. Why is Spartacus so, like, we gotta get this guy? Is it just because Crixus says, yeah, man, he'd be great for us?
Yeah, I think it's because Gannicus already knows several of the gladiators in the House of Batiatus, and another plot point that we haven't talked about yet in this episode is it's becoming very apparent how few of the people they have actually know how to fight. Like, there's a comment about no house slave will ever become a gladiator, no matter how much you will it, and so a point in this episode is... prior to going and rescuing Navia, Agron had mentioned, hey, there are boats of captured warriors that are going to be sold as slaves coming into Neapolis. We should go, liberate one of those boats, because they just don't have enough people that know how to fucking fight. And so I assume, since Spartacus is already like, yes, we need fighting men, and he happens to come across one of the greatest fighters ever, he's very on board with getting Gannicus to join.
Yeah.
I can buy that.
like there is a line at the end of Gods of the Arena where Badiatus is like, we're never going to speak Gannicus's name in this house again. So I don't like we have no evidence to believe that at any point in season 1 somebody told Spartacus off camera, of course, about Gannicus. But I mean, we know the real world explanation. It's because they hadn't written the character into the show at that point, so they couldn't mention him. But at the same time, like that's probably the reasoning for why Spartacus doesn't know who he is or how good he is. But I guess the fact like Crixus could tell him, oh yeah, he stood a champion like us, and so like Spartacus and Crixus are like the two, like they're the main killing machines. Like each one of them is worth like 5 of another soldier, so that's what they need. It's like, oh well, this guy's like we're in desperate need for it. So like it's just really desperation. Historically speaking, this is what they ended up doing. They would liberate slaves they would liberate soldiers, like people who were captured, like prisoners of war, and they would also go for shepherds, because historically speaking, shepherds were one of the very few class of slaves that were allowed to carry weapons, and were more or less left alone, because they had to be able to fight off bandits and wildlife and stuff. So that's what historically, that's what Spartacus went for, were shepherds and prisoners of war. Continue.
Okay, thank you.
Professor Ronan
there's a couple of plot points. One is which they have a map to Neapolis, and they have plans in place to go and capture like soldiers that Romans have captured in their various wars going on. And Agron and Spartacus, everyone thinks that like these people were they were fighting the Romans and they were captured by the Romans. They will be very eager to join our cause if we go and rescue them. But those are plans for the future. Ronan mentioned the fight between Agron and Crixus. Spartacus is giving his big speech to try to rally the crowd, but really to kind of catch Gannicus's attention. And Agron walks up to Crixus and is like, "Oh, isn't it so nice that Navy is back?" And Crixus says, "Yep, that's great. I won't forget that you rescued me from the arena, and so you're letting me be with Navia again. I also won't forget that you fucking abandoned her to the mines," and they get into a fucking fight. And Spartacus is just, his speech has been ruined, and so he's like, "What the fuck?" He goes to Crixus and says, "Hey, I know he was gonna condemn your girlfriend to like death and torture in the mines, but we're past this, right? Like that's old shit. Let it go. Crixus, stop living in the past." But Crixus is like, "No, I still got some hard feelings about that. You're gonna have to fucking deal with it."
Well, he should.
Yes. Hashtag Agron was right. Oenomaus has woken up. Oenomaus has woken up, and so Gannicus goes to speak with Oenomaus, and Gannicus tries to tell him, basically, like, yes, everything that you heard about me and your wife was true, but I need you to know that at the end of the day, like, you were her love. She chose you, and Oenomaus is not having this at all. He basically tells Gannicus, "You're a piece of shit. I thought you were an honorable man." As well he should. Like, "I thought you were an honorable man, and clearly you're not." And Gannicus is like, "Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. I was very wrong. But I've said all that I can say. We've had our words. And so now I'm going to leave." Now, before this, when they were talking about plans for Neapolis, Gannicus walks up to them, and he's looking for wine, but he also like notices they have a map. And so Spartacus and Agron and Mira, they kind of like try to like hide the map because they don't want Gannicus to know their plans yet. And Gannicus is like, "Unless I can drink that, like, I don't care." But this is important because later on, the map goes missing. And so you hear a commotion out in the courtyard, and all of the slaves and gladiators are freaking out because the map as well as all of their money are gone. And that just happens to be the time that Gannicus is about to leave. He has said his piece to Oenomaus. He's made as much peace as he can make with the man, and so he's going to leave. And Spartacus is like, You know, the other day you were looking at this map, and now the map is gone, and now you're trying to leave. That's a little suspicious, and so they end up fighting. Gannicus is innocent. No one knows this yet, but Gannicus didn't take the map. But he's also like not willing to let himself be searched at all. He's very offended that he's being accused of theft. And
No
so
fucks given. He does not bow at all to the authority of any of these people. Just they are less than nothing to him. So when they tell him to stop and let us search your stuff, he laughs it off. He's just not threatened or gives no shits about any of it.
He's like, you're gonna lead them all to death today, huh? That's what you're gonna do? All these people are all gonna die right now? Is that what you want, buddy?
And so Gannicus and Spartacus go to fight. And Spartacus tells everyone, back off. This is between me and Gannicus. So they are about to have a one-on-one fight. When Spartacus gets a second sword, Gannicus recognizes his fighting style, and he has this great line. Because Spartacus says, "Yes, I was taught this style by Oenomaus," and Gannicus says, "Stand down," or like something like, "Accept this final lesson." Like Gannicus is not afraid of Spartacus whatsoever. Like he is like, "I am going to kill Spartacus right now if you don't get the shit out of my way." So Gannicus and Spartacus start fighting, and while this is going on, Mira notices that nameless blonde slave girl is like kind of like discreetly walking away. And so Mira pulls out a bow and arrow and just shoots her in the fucking neck. And Mira is like, whoops, I meant to just wound you, but now nameless blonde girl is now dead. They find the map and the coin on her. Spartacus apologizes to Gannicus, and when they try to figure out like what was going on with blonde slave girl, Mira comes to the realization that basically, like, when I told her to stop fucking gladiators and figure out a plan that doesn't involve your vagina, this is what she chose. So Mira kind of blames herself for this whole altercation.
Should also be pointed out that all the ladies that are in the group are being trained on how to shoot bow and arrows.
Yes,
they show that early on.
Not only do they need fighting men, they are fighting people, because some of the ladies get involved in this. They also need weapons, and so they need fighters, they need weapons. In the meantime, Spartacus tells everyone to make weapons out of sticks and stone and whatever the fuck you can find in nature. And is it Lucius? The Roman old guy? He knows how to shoot a bow and arrow, and so he agrees to train people on this. And so Mira is learning to shoot a bow and arrow.
Agron gets into a little pissing contest with them, where Agron's laughing off the idea of using bows and arrows. Like, bows and arrows don't mean anything in the arena. And he's like, well, can you forge a fucking sword from a tree? You're like, no, you can't.
Yeah, so that's what's happening with the Spartacus and Gladiator side of things. So anything else that we need to chat about with that before we talk about the Glaber side of the episode?
That seems about right.
Everybody is super happy when Oenomaus wakes up. And they're like, yeah, man, Oenomaus, you're back. Crixus is like, man, we're going to kick some ass with you on our side. And then he proceeds to not kick much ass. The end.
Well, he doesn't even wake up until the next episode.
Yeah, I'm about to say, that's the next episode.
Whatever, I'm getting mixed up. I watched him back to back. Shut up.
He woke up in this episode, but he doesn't stand up and do anything until next episod.
God,
anyways,
this is me in the future. A tease for the next episode.
Yes. Let's talk about what's happening with Glaber and his side of the thing. Alithia's life is pretty much ruined. At the end of the last episode, all her plans to basically break up with Glaber and marry Brennius have fallen apart. Glaber basically, forces her to pretend that he cares about all of this. He's like, he says something like, "I will have you play a dutiful wife in public," but he doesn't give a shit. He's enjoying all of this power that he now has over Alithia.
Well, basically, he tells her, he's like, you better guard that baby growing in you with your life, otherwise I'm going to kill you.
I won't have any use for you at that point.
The only reason she is alive is because of the baby inside of her, and Glaber is not shy about letting her know this.
Sell your
Asher
dad's
is
40 goats.
Yeah, basically, like, there's a reading of, like, the will, and, like, this guy is talking about all of the livestock that Alithia's dad owned, and Glaber says, sell all the livestock and put all the money, which would have been like 9,000 denarii, post it as a reward for Spartacus, and the will reader is like, you actually don't have the power to do that. Like, technically, the baby is the heir to Alithia's dad's fortune, not yours. And Glaber's like, I don't care, do it anyway, leave.
I don't know if a Praetor has that ability, but maybe he does. I don't know.
He says the rules have to be bent for greater cause, but what he really means is do it anyway, leave. We see Asher. Asher is kind of talking shit to Glaber. He's like, look, man, I told your buddy Marcus, you're no match for Spartacus. You can't fucking handle it. They're gladiators. One gladiator is worth 3 of your people. And Glaber's like, you know what? Fucking prove it. And so he gives Asher a sword, and Asher is set to fight 3 of the Roman soldiers. And it's not looking good for Asher at the beginning, but he pulls it together, and possibly for the first time in the series, he actually, like, wins a fight.
Legit, fair and square wins the fight, yeah.
Yeah. He won the fight.
He did throw the dirt in that one dude's eyes.
Yeah, he cheated to win another fight, but like this was a 3-on-1 match, and he beat the shit out of all of these guys. So good job, Asher. And so Asher like beats up Glaber's new second in command, and he tells Glaber, like, and I was the weakest. Like, I was the lowest among the Brotherhood, and I still beat 3 of your men. And Glaber tells him, if only I had an army like you. And Asher's like, you know what? I think I can make that happen. And so Asher leaves to assemble the Asher Force, and it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Asher Force is great. Before the Asher Force, we get this very uncomfortable scene between Asher and Xena, because Xena is very upset.
Bad things happen.
Yes, Xena is very upset that Asher told Glaber about the abortion juice. That was not Xena's plan.
Abortion juice.
Xena wanted the baby to be born even after the attempt to abort it, and she would use that. It's a sign from the gods that this baby was supposed to be born, because Xena is kind of baby crazy at this point, and telling Glaber about any of this was not part of the plan, and so she slaps Asher and is like, you will never fucking defy me again. And Asher's like, oh no you didn't. And Asher tells her that, like, I have all of this blackmail material on you. Like, at any point in time, I can go to Glaber and tell him that all of your proclamations about the gods were bullshit, and I was basically working behind the scenes to make all of this happen. And oh, by the way, then Asher assaults Xena, and it's incredibly uncomfortable. I'm moving on from that scene because Asher is going to go assemble the Asher Force.
I mean, he turns into a deliciously evil villain at this point. This is where he really becomes, I think, what Ronan was mentioning, the villain of this season. This is the episode where that really comes to fruition.
Yeah. I mean,
Asher...
Glaber just does not have the chops to be the villain for this season. Asher does.
I still like Glaber, but I agree. Asher is better, but I still enjoy Glaber a lot. But at this point, Asher has pretty much established himself as Glaber's go-to guy. And so he goes out to assemble the Asher Force. I don't think we get names for any of these people except a guy named the Egyptian. He finds in like this fucking pit. He recruits like several people from like bar fights and whatnot. But yeah, the star of the Asher Force is the Egyptian, who's this just giant hulking motherfucker that we're gonna see in future episodes. Also, what's going on with Glaber? Well, he tries to convince Seppius again to join his cause. Join our armies together, and together we will stop Spartacus. But Sepius is like not interested. He kind of feigns interest, but then he says, "You know what? I'm not going to shake your hand and agree to this now. I'll tell you tomorrow. You can fucking wait a day because I don't care about you." And Glaber is
This was a wise decision.
Bad
This,
idea.
Yeah, Glaber is not happy about this, and we're going to see how this pays off later. Meanwhile, Alithia and Xena are basically trauma bonding. Like, they meet each other in the bath, and they basically both confess that, like, we have been shitty people to one another in the past, but at this point, we are all that either one of us has left. And so they are in this together.
I love
so-
that in this show, it's like, okay, how are we going to get Xena and Alithia naked? There's no real way. Well, let's put them in the bath. Every single episode, it's them in the bath, and that's where we get to see them naked.
Yeah, we can't have sex scenes with, well, not real
Traumatized.
consensual.
Yeah,
we can't have consensual sexy sex scenes with them because the way things are going. How else can we get them naked? Damn.
It's almost
bath!
like the bath
Yeah.
was like their choice. Like, okay, here's how we can just have our obligatory nudity in here. Every episode, we'll just have them have a conversation in the bath.
I mean, that's more or less how the conversation had to go down in the writers' room. That's basically it.
For sure.
Well, during this naked trauma bonding bath scene, Xena tells Alithia, like, look, all of our other plans have not worked. At this point, all you can do is, like, try to win Glaber back. Like, submit to him, be the loving wife. Eventually, you're fucking Viva Bianca. Look at you. Eventually, he's going to drop his guard, and you're going to be able to get back in there. And so that's what they've got plans. They're going to try to get Alithia back in Glaber's good graces, and this comes into action during the time when Glaber is meeting Sepius. As Sepius is busy rejecting Glaber's offer, Xena basically says to Alithia, "Hey, let's get Sepia in here, and we'll convince her." And Alithia takes that advice and stands up. It's like, "Hey, how about you invite Sepia here, and we can console her. We've all lost people. We're gonna be there for her." And Sepius is like, "You know what? Fine, I'll send my sister over." And so Glaber is now taking an interest in Sepia, and so has this has not gone unnoticed, but Sepia and Glaber have an attraction. But before that becomes super relevant, Xena and Alithia are they're meeting with Sepia, and at first it's like just like therapy. They're talking about all of the people that we have lost to Spartacus. It's tragic and whatnot. A good way to stop Spartacus would be if hypothetically, what if your brother Sepius and Alithya's husband Glaber, they came together? What if they buddied up? So all of this was a scam to get Sepia on board. And try to get Sepia to convince her brother Sepius to join forces with Glaber. Now Sepia, she immediately sees through this. She basically tells them, like, look, I know I look 9, but I'm at least 12, probably, which is old enough to see through your bullshit.
It's legal in that time period. 12 is totally legal.
And to Xena and Alithya's credit, they're basically like, you fucking caught us. This was all a plot. But everything we said is correct. Like, you should be working with us to convince Sepius to join forces with Glaber, because that's the only way we're going to stop Spartacus. And Sepia is not really buying it until Glaber walks in and they start flirting again in front of Alithia, and that gets Sepia on board. Sepia at that point says, you know what? I'll do my best to convince my brother to join forces with you, and they flirt a little bit more, but then Asher pops up. And so Asher's talking to Glaber, and they're ready to execute the plan. And what is the plan exactly? Well, they go and murder the shit out of Sepius. And so they go to wherever Sepius is. They kill everyone there, including the slaves, because you're going to find out in a future episode they're going to blame all this on the slaves. Glaber, Sepius is on the ground, dying near death, and Glabber steps on his throat, is basically like, hey, no hard feelings, don't worry, I'm totally gonna fuck your sister.
Yeah.
And
Look at how
that's
close
the
you are
episode.
with your sister, and I'm gonna bang the shit out of her.
Yes. Asher grabs a trinket that will become important in future episodes. But yeah, the episode ends with Glabber killing Sepius, and he is going to take over Sepius's army.
Yeah, this is a cool episode. This is super cool.
There's a lot going on this episode.
There is a lot going on in this episode. Ronan, your thoughts?
Oh, this is a great episode. As Steve mentioned, the Asher Force. That's a great concept. It's like, because the first season does establish that, Asher is the special ops, operate from the shadows broker kind of guy. And this season expands upon that. It's like, okay, let's give him a little shadow strike force that he gets to command to do cool shit in the background.
Asher Force.
And it also gives Glabber's side a much needed threat. You can believe these guys could possibly take down, like the Gladiator Force, because it's well established that the Roman soldiers are just nothing. You see them have a conflict with the Gladiators, and you just don't care. Whatever, fuck it. They're cannon fodder. So this gives Glabber's force, when they're in the coming battle scenes. It gives you, the audience member, some form of, oh shit, we know the Egyptian is badass. We know the guy with the shit on his face who's just in the background. We know he's a
face guy.
Well, there's tattooed face guy. That's the first guy that gets introduced, which you would think means he's going to be important. I'll leave it at that. But really, it's the Egyptian. That's the one name guy. But the other people have this some kind of visual flair and some weird weapon that makes them distinct. So, but you see them fighting, so you know that these guys, okay, yeah, they're going to be a threat. Which again, as I said, Glabber's force does not have. So now they've got a legit threat. So now stakes have been raised. Good episode.
Yeah, I think my favorite part of this episode is actually all the Gannicus stuff, because I love that they didn't immediately turn Gannicus and be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to join up with you guys.
Let's take a minute to acknowledge that guy's sweater. I just want to acknowledge it real quick. That is a great sweater. Continue.
Acknowledged. And I love the fact that he's just he gives no fucks about any of these individuals. I did think there was a moment. I think it was in this episode. Is it this episode where Gannicus has that sort of one-on-one, heart-to-heart with Crixus, where Gannicus brings back the boar or whatever, and he's like, "Dude, you need to take your woman, get the fuck out of here. Spartacus is going to lead everyone to death." And then Crixus is like, I love that Crixus is like, "No, man, he opened my eyes. I am going to stick with this dude till the very end." And I love that sort of dynamic that Gannicus, because Gannicus and Crixus know each other, right, from Gods of the Arena. Crixus is probably the only one there that, well, aside from Navia, outside of
Animaeus, it's
yeah, but of the main people that have been in this whole thing, Crixus is the only one that actually knows him, and Gannicus was Crixus's inspiration, to become the best, was Gannicus. So they have that mutual respect, and I like that they gave that scene, that one-on-one scene with them.
And Gannicus even acknowledges, because he's like, I've heard many stories of the undefeated Gaul. So it's he got good enough to where even Gannicus was like, yeah, bro's good. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, and he mentioned something about he's like, well, when you fall, I'll mourn you as a brother or something like that. So I just love that whole sequence there. But yeah, Steve, what did you think about this episode?
Oh, it's a great episode. This is another episode where I actually felt like it's not as egregious as the episode where Spartacus is walking through the woods for the entire episode. But I think I enjoyed the Glabber side of things more here, and it's basically just because of how fucking awesome and terrifying Asher is in this episode. Asher is a man on a mission. He is working everyone, and it's great. And I love that he's getting his own Black Ops strike force.
Yeah, even though he's probably never been a worse person than this episode. What he does was
it's the Bobby Otis effect. It's like, we love to cheer for Badiatus, knowing what a piece of shit Badiatus is, and I feel like we're probably, like, I don't know that we're cheering for Asher, but we're enjoying his character.
Yeah, he's definitely interesting. I'm sorry, go ahead, Ronan.
Well, yeah, because if I can make an analogy to Die Hard 1 and 3, which may sound weird, but you root for like the Gruber brothers in both of those movies because like it's just easy to get behind a smart villain. He's got his shit together. His plan is going well. He's got the charisma. It's like we like to see that kind of thing. Like it's just good to see like a smart character, a smart villain doing smart stuff. It works, and it's the same sort of thing with Asher. He's not the greatest fighter. 100% that like any other gladiators could just decimate him in any fight. But he's smart enough to know that. It's what makes him interesting. I enjoy a villain who is not afraid to say nope and will turn tail and run.
Yeah, because he could have said when he finally beat those 3 Romans, he could have said like, yeah, I was one of the best ones, but he actually admitted he's like, and I was the worst. Like I was the worst of all these gladiators. I thought that was actually an interesting moment that he admitted.
Well, it sticks that to Glaber more. It's like, yeah, I was considered to be the shitty one, and yet I just did this to your guys. Your guys suck. Like,
yeah, I think if he had like talked a big game and said, yeah, I was the fucking greatest in the Ludus, like that would actually be like a point against him, because Glaber would just be like, yeah, okay, well if you were the best, and clearly the people I'm facing are not as good as you, I don't need to change my plans at all.
Oh, one other thing we should mention about this episode, I think they establish it in this episode, it comes into play in the next, but Gannicus is, what is it, Rudis or whatever?
Yeah.
The sort of wooden dagger that has carved, it says he's a free man that was lost in the arena. He's very concerned about getting that back. So he does not have that at the moment. So he is technically a slave right now because he's got no proof that he isn't. But yeah, I mean that's good.
Yeah,
Any other final thoughts?
I'm not sure how.
Episode?
Yeah, I'm not sure how that actually works in Roman society. But yeah, for the purposes of this show, it works as a plot device.
Well, we'll see it more next episode. He still doesn't have an issue walking around free, but you can tell that he's also not as comfortable as he once was without his Rudis.
Yeah, well, if anybody challenged him, he wouldn't all he'd have is just like his word and not the actual stick, for lack of a better word.
But I mean, everyone he's famous to the point where everyone knows he was free.
Yeah, if he says his name, but he has no proof that he is who he says he is, he needs the Rudis in order to back it. Otherwise, any town he goes into, like, anybody could just say, like, no, whatever, fuck it, you're a slave. And it's the Roman society, honestly, they could still, like, it didn't take much to get thrown into slavery. Like,
yeah. Well, he still has the mark of Badiatus on him, right? So that's how they would potentially know he was still a slave. Let's say he was
scooped it off like Asher did.
Yeah, let's say he's in a different town or a town of people who don't know him. They see a brand on him, they might assume that he is an escaped slave from another Ludus and take him in or whatever. So, yeah, I could sort of, because I was thinking to myself, I was like, well, how would just a poor, like, homeless Roman on the street, how would someone know that that person wasn't a slave and then just take them? But it would have to be the brand, right? You would check to see if there was an actual brand on them, and he still has one on him.
Well, I mean, like, this is going ahead to, like, like the next season, but there is a moment where a character in the next season, just because, like, someone of a higher station decides to, is like, oh, yep, and guess what? You're in slavery now. Like, so apparently, all it takes is just somebody with a bigger dick than you to say, yeah, you're a slave now. And, like, you can't really challenge it.
Yeah. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is episode 6, Chosen Path. We all agree, fantastic episode. We're going to see how all of this stuff plays out in episode 7, which is Sacramentum, next week. We'll record this definitely next week. See you later, everybody. And cut.